welcome to episode 6 of our Pact coding series on Token Go. Again, keeping with our theme, we're going to start light in this episode. We're going to cover some basic operations with operators, and let's just get into it. Now, there's a lot of operators in Pact, just like any programming language, but for us, there's the basic, if you want basic arithmetic, can do that. But let's just do a few other things. We're gonna play around with strings for a little bit. So we're gonna do not equals. So hello and goodbye. Hello does not equal goodbye. Okay, so we know, just start with a baseline false. Okay, I think that's pretty self-explanatory. You could use this to evaluate if a user account matches. So you could say if account 1 matches a variable, which could be account, just account. We could test it that way. So for now, we can just pretend like we're reading that in and say, okay, it does not equal. So let's say if we wanted to equal, it does not equal. So obviously it matters how you use these, but equal and not equal kind of makes sense. Account 1 does not equal account. Account does equal account. If we break this, it'll just fail. But that's just the general Lisp syntax here. So this is going to be probably what is a little different for some people. And so we can do math. And so let's stick with math for a second here. So let's multiply 5.0 by 6.0. Okay, pretty simple. Let's do this. Okay, so now here's where things can get fun. We can round this down to precision. Let's do 12, which is not going to round it down, right? That's not going to round it down at all. But we could do 2. So I'd expect 0.92. Yep, there we go. So 33.92. That makes sense, right? So we can round. We can do ceiling. There's floor. So we'll floor it down. So it's you can read about these in the docs, but generally speaking, a lot of this gets used with division, and I think that's probably where we'll spend a good chunk of our time here. So let's get rid of this and let's go into some division. And okay, so now you're gonna see why it's so important that we use precision. And so let's floor this by 6. Okay, so there we go. 24. There we go. And so you'll notice, this is what I wanted to show. If you'll notice, it returned this, which you'd say, oh, why would that happen? It's just the way we handle larger numbers, right? And so Pact has a way to handle large integers, large decimals. You're not going to see this as, this kind of example, like something this long. That'd be pretty uncommon. But there are reasons that could happen. And so you have to be able to handle that in your code. And you have to expect it on the front end. Pact will handle it great. You should know what you're doing with your code. So if you need to do math, you should be, like, let's say you wanted to divide 5 by a half, right? And then the other half, the half goes to one person and the other half goes to another. Well, you could run into issues with precision if you're just letting your numbers go out of control. You may not have enough balance to do the second transfer, and then your transfer will fail, or worse, one person will get funds and the other doesn't. And so you really have to be careful with these things, and you won't notice this as much in Pact as you will when you move this to a front end or a back end and you start interacting with the API. So this is very, very important to know. And I think if we could type round, you'll see round a lot and you'll see floor a lot. I think those are the two I see the most. So if you want to, I would highly recommend spending the most time kind of understanding how that piece of it works. These simple operators are so important because you'll use them in enforce statements, right? So you can enforce things like less than, equal to. We could do, let's say, less than 0 is less than 1. 0 is less than 1. Okay, so that's obvious, I think. So let's do and. 0 is less than 1, and 2 is less than 5. It's true. What happens if we do that? It's now false. And so now let's look at a little bit of a different operation. So let's do and like this. So this will just apply a logical and to the results, and let's do is less than 6. So we just have to change this a little bit. And so we'll keep the 1 here, and we'll keep the 2 here. So 1 and 2 are less than 6. So you could just see it's just another way to write this. I see this a lot with strings. As long as you apply these properly, you're gonna be in good shape. So let's actually zero this out for a second, and let's switch to or. So 0 is less than 1, or 2 is less than 2. So this is true. So this doesn't matter. Well, let's say this is the case. Now we're false. So obviously these two values both equal each other. So we would need, still false. So we would need this to be, I wonder if we can do -20. There we go. It's true. So again, you'll see this a lot in if statements. You'll see this a lot in if statements, which I would be careful with. If and I see those a lot in there, and that gets to be pretty complex. You just want to be careful how much you rely on those. And you know, I think, like I said, the rounding and the flooring, I think those are going to be your best friends. It's so critical in understanding if you need to. Another thing you'll see if you're mixed matching types, if you need to cast an integer to a decimal. Now it's not going to show up in my console here, but let's say that is 100. We can cast this as 100.0. So if we needed to do like a math operation and there's just no way to get that out of an integer, I think it's better than mixing types. As long as there's not going to be like a precision issue down the line or any type of complex values that are coming out of this, it should be safe to use. So with that, again, I want to keep these high level. I want to speed these up a little bit. I want to shorten them. So we will continue building on these concepts. This will all tie into building full smart contracts, right? So by the time we get to there, we'll have covered a lot of these simple topics, and we'll show you how to actually apply them. So if you like this video, please check it out on YouTube if you haven't. If you're on Twitter, check it out. Like on Twitter, retweet, and then on YouTube, please subscribe. And I hope that everybody has a good day. Thank you.